The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.patreon.com/The BPD Show.
Today is Thursday. It is April 28th, 2022. Welcome to the Benjamin Dixon Morning Show. We have a full show for you this morning. We'll be joined in On the Clock segment with Nina Turner and Professor Harvey Kaye, discussing not only the Economic Bill of Rights, but also Nina Turner's run for the 11th Congressional District there in Ohio. We're excited about that conversation. We'll be joined by DJ Exclusive, Rebecca Azor. Dr. Carl Mack is out this week as he is preparing and diligently working on Black Heritage Days 5, Black Heritage Days 5, which is a 366-day Black women history calendar, along with Black Heritage Days 6, which is a Black sports history calendar, 366 days of Black history as it pertains to sports. And as always, we're going to start our morning this morning with Black history provided by Dr. Mack and Google. Hey, Google, what happened today in Black history?
On April 28, 1971, Samuel L. Gravely became the first Black admiral in United States military history. Gravely was born on June 4, 1922, in Richmond, Virginia. He was the first Black officer to command a United States Navy ship, and the first to achieve the rank of captain. The following year, he became the first Black person to command a combat ship, the USS Falgout. During the Vietnam War, he was assigned commander of the USS Tausig, thus becoming the first Black man to command a U.S. Navy ship in combat. Adapted from Black Heritage Day 4 calendar by author, lecturer, and civil rights activist Dr. Carl Mack.
And I absolutely want to encourage you to go to blackheritagedays.com and get a copy of the calendar that we read from every morning. Dr. Carl Mack is diligently working on the rest of the calendars. And it has been such a blessing to this show to be able to ground and root everything that we do each day through the lens of Black history. I want to begin this morning with more on what's happening in Washington, D.C. While the rest of us around the country are trying to live normal lives, there's an entire cabal of right-wing fascists who are planning a coup, who are actually enacting a coup. Since January 6th, the Republican Party has made it known that they have no intention of abiding by the peaceful transfer of power or even the Constitution of the United States. We are at a stage in decline in the United States of America, where half of the political institutions in this country have no regard for the political institutions. They have no regard for voting. They have no regard for voting rights. And in fact, they have no regard for each other as they begin to eat each other alive on the right, because they have not yet decided exactly how far they want to go. What do I mean? Kevin McCarthy, the House Minority Leader, who on January 6th and around surrounding January 6th was clear, absolutely clear, that Donald Trump was responsible. And now that these audio recordings have leaked, the Republican Party, Fox News, and the conservative infrastructure, they are leaning into Kevin McCarthy because he is not dedicated to Donald Trump enough. I want to jog your memory and play a couple of clips of Kevin McCarthy in his own words so that you can understand and hear why it is people like Tucker Carlson, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and Matt Gaetz are now coming after him full-throated. And he is, in fact, not enough for the fascists in the Republican Party. Let's take a listen into Kevin McCarthy.
Details of Republican leader Kevin McCarthy's conversations in the days after January 6th were reported by Jonathan Martin and Alexander Burns of the New York Times in their upcoming book, This Will Not Pass. McCarthy, according to the book, was so upset with Trump's behavior, he told fellow Republicans, quote, "I've had it with this guy." McCarthy flatly denied the reporting, tweeting, quote, "The New York Times reporting on me is totally false and wrong." And the Republican leader's spokesperson told the Times, quote, "McCarthy never said he'd call Trump to say he should resign." But overnight, the Times reporters released audio showing McCarthy did exactly that.
What I think I'm going to do is I'm going to call him.
This, according to the Times reporters, was during a phone call with House Republicans hosted by Liz Cheney just days after the attack on the Capitol.
Are you hearing that he might resign? Is there any reason to think that might happen?
I've had some few discussions. My gut tells me no. I'm seriously thinking of having that conversation with him tonight. I haven't talked to him in a couple days. From what I know of him, I mean, you guys all know him too. Do you think he'd ever back away? But
McCarthy goes on to say he believed Trump would be impeached and possibly even removed from office by the Senate.
The only discussion I would have with him is that I think this will pass, and it would be my recommendation we should resign. I mean, that would be my take, but I don't think he would take it, but I don't know.
But weeks later, McCarthy's criticism of Trump had evaporated. He visited the former president at Mar-a-Lago just 3 weeks after January 6th.
Now, to be sure, Kevin McCarthy came on board with the rest of the Republican Party, who after January 6th, the Republican Party stated very clearly in a statement that the actions of January 6th fell within the acceptable parameters of political debate. I want to say that every day between now and the election, because the entirety of the GOP, the Republican Party, looked at January 6th and said that, you know what, this is okay for American democracy. And so Kevin McCarthy, whose initial reaction was rather appropriate. It was appropriate for him to be concerned that the president of the United States was fomenting an insurrection in real time. And you can see as he was talking with Liz Cheney, who I am not a fan of. She is the daughter of Dick Cheney, who is the warmonger in chief and has divided and disrupted this global order for the foreseeable future. So I am not a fan of Liz Cheney. However, we are in such a bad situation in this country where Liz Cheney is actually the good person in this conversation. And as Kevin McCarthy was talking to her, perhaps he was simply just trying to impress her and make it seem as though he had not gone full Trumper. But clearly he backtracked and has gone full Trumper, but that's not enough for Tucker Carlson or Matt Gaetz. I want you to listen to these clips. The first clip is of Tucker Carlson basically saying that Kevin McCarthy, who backed away from the good thing, Kevin McCarthy, who backed away from the right thing, which was to preserve this democracy, that's not enough for him to back away and to fall in line with Donald Trump. He should never have questioned Donald Trump to begin with. Let's take a listen to Tucker Carlson.
Kevin McCarthy of California told his close friend Liz Cheney that he hoped the social media companies would censor more conservative Republicans in Congress. Donald Trump, the sitting president, had already been silenced by those companies, but McCarthy wanted the tech oligarchs to do more, to force disobedient lawmakers off the internet. Quote, can't they take their Twitter accounts away too? Those are the tape-recorded words of Congressman Kevin McCarthy, a man who in private turns out sounds like an MSNBC contributor. And yet, unless conservatives get their act together right away, Kevin McCarthy or one of his highly liberal allies like Elise Stefanik is very likely to be Speaker of the House in January. That would mean we will have a Republican Congress led by a puppet of the Democratic Party. So you wouldn't know any of this.
You wouldn't know any of this if you were watching Fox News, that Tucker Carlson is an apparatchik. But I want to move to the clip that Tucker Carlson is referencing. He's referencing the newest audio where Kevin McCarthy, in response to January 6th, was questioning whether or not Twitter could take away those accounts. Let's take a listen in.
Not seeing that anywhere. And there's an issue with Alabama. Barry Moore has said some things today even that we should look at, honestly.
What did Barry say today?
All right, so he deleted his personal Twitter account, but Jamie Dupree with the Atlanta Journal got screenshot. He said about 22 hours ago, wow, we have more arrests for stealing a podium on January 6th than we do for stealing an election on November the 3rd. Atlanta, Philadelphia, and Detroit would be places I recommend you start. There's video evidence of these crimes as well. Hashtag election integrity matters. And then Moore also made this tweet on Saturday night as the U.S. Capitol police officer who shot and killed a woman as he tried to get into the lobby. So he tweeted at Marjorie Greene and at NARAL, I understand it was a black police officer that shot the white female veteran. You know, that doesn't fit the narrative.
Ow. Oh, man.
This is what we have to confront with this.
Can't they take their Twitter accounts away too?
Can't they take their Twitter accounts away too?
Rachel Maddow slid in there at the last second to repeat it, but can't you take their Twitter away accounts too? I want to give context. This is a broader conversation. The more we dig into this, it gets broader and broader because now we're on the precipice of Elon Musk taking the full reins at Twitter and reinstating people like Donald Trump and opening the floodgates. We see the people who are celebrating the purchase of Twitter by Elon Musk the most are the right-wing apparatchiks who are here to do the bidding of Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin. There's no question about that. And so as this conversation broadens, we have to understand that this is a competition between what remains of the Republican Party. What remains of the Republican Party are people like Liz Cheney, who, again, is no hero. Make no mistake. I don't care what network puts her up. Liz Cheney is not a hero, except in this instance, she is like the only Republican who actually cares enough about democracy to say that they're not going to put Donald Trump over the Constitution. I will take Liz Cheney any day. Give me someone who will not give us Donald Trump or Vladimir Putin over the Constitution, and I'll say something kind about her. Liz Cheney is good like a broken clock is right twice a day. But that is not enough in the Republican Party for people like Kevin McCarthy to have allies like Liz Cheney. He backs away because he knows who actually runs the Republican Party, and it is Donald Trump's ego. I want us to play this next clip. It is of Representative Maria Salazar of Florida. She comes to the defense of House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy, saying, well, he changed his mind. And as you listen to this clip, the choices that are on the table for the Republican Party is a choice between American democracy and the Constitution and subservience to Donald Trump. Let's listen to Maria Salazar.
We asked Leader McCarthy what he said on January 6th, and they lied to us. And then there's audio.
You know, they lied. People changed their mind. Things happened. But I'm not saying that January 6th what happened was despicable. You cannot be storming any buildings, much less the Capitol. But then why don't we move forward? And why don't we start thinking what's happening right now? But no, the media doesn't want to do that because it's not convenient. It doesn't produce headlines.
So did you listen to the McCarthy audio that was released?
Sure I did.
And what was your response as an American?
My response that it was edited. You see, I know the art of editing. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure in what context. But what I'm saying to you is that it's not a matter of trying to find out what happened or what he said. It's the whole story.
Right.
Don't you guys see it? What you guys are doing?
We asked the Dems the same question.
You know, it's like the history will judge the news organizations 100 years from now, and we'll say, we're not doing our job.
History is going to judge the news organizations for allowing her to finish that sentence unchallenged. She knows editing. I digress. The story now is this, that there is a civil war in the Republican Party. And to be honest with you, the likes of Liz Cheney and Kevin McCarthy, they are losing because Donald Trump and his ego has the full backing of Fox News, Tucker Carlson, and even Vladimir Putin. I want to play one more clip from Tucker Carlson, and this one includes Matt Gaetz, who himself is embroiled in a scandal in the 1st Congressional District of Florida dealing with underage sex allegations. That doesn't stop him from going on Fox News on a regular basis to foment further disruptions in our democracy. Let's take a listen in to Matt Gaetz.
Violence. What do you make of this?
Well, I was just describing the facts. You had a group of people who were going to try to join with Democrats to impeach President Trump, and that is precisely what has played out. You mentioned he's in line to be speaker. I mean, I don't know that Kevin McCarthy's in line to be speaker. I don't know if the guy could get an account on Truth Social at this point based on the inconsistency between the recordings and what he says to us. And it is debasing for Republicans to give this guy a standing ovation after he smears Trump, lies to the country, and then tries to sick big tech and the DOJ on members of Congress whose views he doesn't agree with and whose factual representations are ultimately borne out. And the crazy thing about this, Tucker, is that it was all done for the sake of protecting Liz Cheney. I mean, at the time, I was protecting President Trump from impeachment, and Kevin McCarthy was protecting Liz Cheney from criticism. And now she is owning them with their own words. And maybe Liz Cheney has done us a favor because now finally you don't have to be a lobbyist with a $5,000 check to know what Kevin McCarthy and Steve Scalise really think. You know, I was upfront about the fact that I was going to politically oppose Liz Cheney. I went to Wyoming. I made my case there. This notion that you can have these sniveling calls and try to foment action against Republicans by big tech and the DOJ is not fitting of leadership.
Well, that's exactly right. I mean, you can represent Republican voters if you're personally annoyed with Trump. Okay. But you cannot represent Republican leaders if you're calling on big tech to censor voices who criticize you, and if you're accusing people who criticize you of committing an illegal act of violence, as Steve Scalise did. Now,
Steve Scalise is I want to go off script for a second, because I just want to make sure people understand who Steve Scalise is. If you look up Steve Scalise's record as it pertains to racism and white supremacy, you will understand that he is perfectly in line with the Republican Party. There's no question about whether or not Steve Scalise is a dedicated, dutiful, racist Republican. There's just no question about it. However, that's not enough. The racism is not enough. The xenophobia is not enough. The homophobia, the transphobia is not enough if you do not have pure, unadulterated allegiance to Donald Trump and this movement that actually is it's a little bit bigger than Donald Trump, except for one thing. Donald Trump's ego is the size of the universe. But there is a international pan-reactionary movement that is bigger than Donald Trump, that they are more loyal to. The Republican Party, the only institution that the Republican Party is more loyal to than Donald Trump, is the global reactionary movement that includes the likes of Vladimir Putin. That is it. But as it pertains to domestic politics in the United States of America, if you do anything to challenge Donald Trump, who lost, who never should have won in the first place, who, quite frankly, is the clarion call of white mediocrity, if you do not serve him, well, you are an enemy of the Republican Party. And this is the party that has completely taken over one half of the political institutions in this country. This is why we can not only not make progress, this is why we're going backwards with legislation all around the country that is aimed at marginalizing even more people, making sure that even fewer people can vote, and making sure that even if you vote, you don't really have a district to vote in, because they've been cracking black districts all over this country. Just look at the state of Florida, and we'll be talking about that more as the weeks go on. I want to move on really quickly with the time that we have left with some chilling news. 3 out of 4 kids in the United States have had COVID-19, the CDC is estimating. Now, this comes on the heels of Dr. Anthony Fauci, who is saying that the U.S. is now out of the pandemic phase. And this is a difficult thing to swallow when you consider just yesterday, nearly 700 people died of COVID-19. And we have a rolling 7-day average of about 350 people who are dying on a daily basis from this pandemic. It is very difficult when you have 3 out of 4 children who have been infected with COVID-19, and we still don't know the effects, the full effects of long-term COVID. Yet Dr. Fauci says that we're out of the pandemic phase. We've liked him here to this point. Let's play this clip now.
How close are we to the end of this pandemic?
Well, that's an unanswerable question for the following reason. And I don't want to be evasive about it, but let me tell you why I'm giving you that answer, Judy. We are certainly right now in this country out of the pandemic phase. Namely, we don't have 900,000 new infections a day and tens and tens and tens of thousands of hospitalizations and thousands of deaths. We are at a low level right now. So if you're saying, are we out of the pandemic phase in this country? We are. What we hope to do, I don't believe, and I've spoken about this widely, we're not going to eradicate this virus. If we can keep that level very low and intermittently vaccinate people, and I don't know how often that would have to be, Judy. That might be every year, that might be longer, in order to keep that level low. But right now, we are not in the pandemic phase in this country. Pandemic means a widespread throughout the world infection that spreads rapidly among people. So if you look at the global situation, there's no doubt this pandemic is still ongoing.
Dr. Anthony Fauci, thank you very much.
Thank you, Judy. Good to be with you.
Now, Dr. Fauci takes painstaking efforts in that to make sure that he's saying it accurately. But the fact of the matter is that we never treated this like it was a full pandemic to begin with. And because this country never treated this pandemic like a pandemic, we quite honestly have no idea when we're going to have a post-COVID society, if ever. But there's still hundreds of people dying every day. And with every new infection brings the new possibility of a new variant. We have more variants than we can keep up with at this point. So it is very incumbent upon us to not let our guards down, especially because of how the data has been changed and how the reporting on the data has been adjusted. I just want to encourage everyone to please still get the shot. Please mask up and social distance, especially if you're in a situation like my family. We have kids. We have a child who is too young to get the first vaccination. And I can't imagine for families all over this country who are dealing with immunocompromised systems and immunocompromised children, just situations where this country has completely abandoned us and we're on our own. And while Dr. Fauci is saying we're out of the pandemic phase, 3 out of 4 children have been infected with COVID-19. I do believe that we have to keep our guards up as much as possible. One last story before we go to a break. Russia's Gazprom pipeline company cuts off gas supply to Poland and Bulgaria. Now, this is amid the ongoing crisis between Russia and the Ukraine. The preeminent state-run energy company in Russia will not supply resources to the nations of Poland and Bulgaria until the payments are made in Russian currency. The Russian natural gas is a staple of the EU's energy needs. Both Poland and Bulgaria are heavily reliant on Gazprom's natural gas. Poland's climate minister said the following and said there will be no shortage of Polish homes. Polish officials cite sufficient reserves and say they may purchase gas elsewhere. Ukrainian officials refer to the move as Russia gas blackmailing Europe. Russia is completely and totally dependent on their oil economy, on their gas economy. And so absolutely, as they're facing these economic sanctions where their money is no good in the international order, it makes sense that they now have to do this to force other countries who are dependent on their oil supply and their gas supply to acquiesce by paying them in dollars that they can spend in their economy. The fact of the matter is that this entire fiasco, this entire regime change that is being attempted by Vladimir Putin in Ukraine is over gas pipelines. Nord Stream 2, which is connected to the Gazprom company that is pulling this shenanigan right now. They are at the core of the crisis of what is happening in Ukraine. Make no mistake about it. This has nothing to do with the internal integrity of Russia. This has nothing to do with the internal security of Russia. It has everything to do with the Nord Stream pipeline, along with this company that is now pressuring Poland and Bulgaria to pay up. This is blackmail. This is extortion, but it also shows the desperation of Vladimir Putin. While they are killing people every day in Ukraine, he's losing this war. Vladimir Putin is losing this war not only on the battlefield, but also in the field of public opinion. And now he looks desperate. He's a small man with a huge ambition to rule this world through his own personal vision of restoring Russia back to what he believes it should be. Not what even the people of Russia believe it should be. The dissent in Russia, the left anti-war movement in Russia is standing up and being arrested, while the left anti-war so-called movement in the United States is still pushing and supporting Vladimir Putin. There's a lot happening, a lot of contorted and twisted things that are happening in the year of our Lord 2022. We're going to try to take our time to unravel as much of it as we possibly can. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we will be on the clock. We'll be joined by none other than State Senator Nina Turner. We'll be discussing the Economic Bill of Rights, along with Professor Harvey Kaye and Nina Turner's campaign for the 11th Congressional District in Ohio. We'll be back with more of the Benjamin Dixon Morning Show right after this brief break.
Discuss Good morning. A new report has been released by the Minnesota Department of Human Rights. This report has been being in the works for about 2 years now. And basically what they've determined is that there's been a patterns and practice of racial discrimination by the Minneapolis Police Department. And no, we're not surprised. This affirms a lot of things that we both have observed with our own eyes, heard from members of the community and whatnot. But for me, I feel like the publishing of this report is what journalists need in order to say that there is corruption within the Minneapolis Police Department. And I have hesitated since the murder of George Floyd to use that word because as a Black journalist, I will be called an activist. But if I were a white journalist saying that, I'd be a great journalist then. But this is the kind of evidence that folks across the country need in order to use that narrative, which is accurate. Right. But when you think about the dozens of people that we have talked to on the ground who have said that they were brutalized by the Minneapolis Police Department, you have evidence. Remember the case of Jaleel Stallings, who during the protests, police, came and brutally beat him just because they were driving by. And we heard on the body cameras, a white officer saying that they were going to hunt protesters, right? But there's so much documentation that has come out. Even looking at Chauvin had about 7 or 8 victims that we know of that have been documented before before George Floyd. There's so much documentation. Then when you double down and look at the fact that the police lied about what happened to George Floyd, and what they did to Amir Locke, calling him a suspect, even though he was not. I mean, the paintings are on the wall. We've talked about this on this show, case by case, incident by incident. Here is this cohesive report by the Minnesota Department of Human Rights that say, yes, we have found, after researching for the last 2 years, patterns and practices of racial discrimination by this department. What more evidence do people need in order to call corruption corruption?
That's right. That's right. Good morning, Sister Ford. I am reminded of the Department of Justice investigation into Ferguson after the murder of Mike Brown, who was shot by Officer Darren Wilson. The report was very similar. It showed that the people of Ferguson, who were predominantly Black in population, but run by a predominantly white city commission, the Black people in that city were targeted more by police. They were stopped more frequently. They were questioned. They were detained more frequently. And it just showed a pattern and a practice of exploiting the Black community for funding the city's budget. What I'm hearing from Minneapolis, Minnesota, it sounds so similar. And so it's so disturbing to know that these patterns are replicating themselves across the country when it comes to how Black people are treated by the police.
Well, then here's the larger question. If we can do these isolated explorations, we can go into Ferguson, DOJ can investigate there, the Department of Human Rights here investigates here. And also there's still the DOJ investigating here too. But we have all of these independent individual investigations that are proving that there are problems. When is there going to be a nationwide research done and acceptance that there needs to be an overhaul? Because this no longer, as we've seen over the last 10 years, this is the issues that communities of color are having with police is not isolated to one city, one county, or one state. These are problems that are existing, that are showing relevant all across the country.
That's right.
So while we can go in department by department and turn the stone over, do some research, find out basically what we already knew, at what point are they going to do a collective study across the country and see if there's enough evidence to say that there's a nationwide problem? And I hate to say this because I feel like we collectively decided there was a problem 2 years ago after the murder of George Floyd, but the George Floyd Policing Act still hasn't been passed on a federal level.
That's right.
So
that's right.
So do we need more evidence? Because, okay, we found out, okay, Minneapolis Police Department's a problem. Okay, we can fix that the same way we fixed Ferguson. But what about Baltimore? What about Chicago? Right. What about Atlanta? What about the Louisiana State Police who lied and said that Ronald Green died in a car crash when really 2 years later, when the media got the body camera footage, they found out that the police brutally beat him to death. This isn't isolated to just Minneapolis, to your point. Yes, it's Ferguson. Yes, it's Baltimore, Atlanta, Chicago, Louisiana, you name it. There's a systemic problem here with the structure of policing across the country. And I thought we agreed we were going to address it 2 years ago, but here we are.
That's right.
And it seems like the finish line keeps getting moved further and further back.
Exactly right. Because you have to understand, I mean, the audience, everyone, just take into consideration, our fight for Black lives comes into direct competition with police officers' agenda. I mean, every time we make a move towards justice for Black life, we see the full force of police unions, of political parties, of all types of organizations who help move that goalpost, Georgia. Every time we get a little bit closer to justice, they change the paradigm. And so now we're not only having conversations about whether or not police officers should stop killing us, we're giving them more money. Right. The goalpost has been moved so far that not only is there no accountability, we're still rewarding the people who are systematically killing us on a regular basis.
And then you have situations like what happened in Grand Rapids with Leoya, Patrick Leoya. And the thing that I have seen is, since the murder of George Floyd and being so close to this issue and covering police killing after police killing after police killing, you see a shift in the minds of people who at one point were on the side of the issue where they knew something dramatic needed to happen, whether it was reform or abolishing, right? I've seen the transformation of the minds. People are like, something has to change. Well, then all of a sudden crime goes up. Well, no, actually, let's keep the police and let's just do some diversity training. Right. Or, oh, my God, this is terrible. Abolish the police because they were slave catchers and they're here just to kill us. To, well, that person shouldn't have done X, Y, Z, and they would still be alive. And so the passing of time without any action being taken has also fractured the collective, the unified voice that was there, right? The passing of time has allowed enough other events to happen to change people's minds. Think about it. If you stand in a line for an hour, you might change your mind on whether or not you really want what you came for. If you have to stand in line for 2 years for change, are you going to keep standing in that line asking for the same thing? Or are you going to get distracted and see something else happening and say, well, actually, we don't need all of this change anyways. Let's kind of keep things the way it is. And so I've seen people who were so dead set on something has to change fundamentally in our nation 2 years ago to now the crime or, one justified police killing. And people are like, well, it's not that bad. But it keeps happening. And now you get studies like this from the Minnesota Department of Human Rights that say there's a pattern and practices of racial discrimination within this department. So fundamentally, why should we keep it the same if now we have evidence and proof? I mean, I've talked to people in the community, so I already knew these things. But for some reason, we have to have researches and studies done for people to believe Black women, for people to believe Black men, right? So now we have this. Why should we keep something the same that has proven to be racist?
As I hear you talking, Georgia, all I hear is Dr. King in my ear saying justice delayed is justice denied. Because in those 2 years, people who have been fighting for justice, some of them have died. How many people have been fighting for justice in this country, and before they even got an idea of justice, they died? And this is part of the game. Part of the game is to delay Black people in this country as much as we possibly can. I'm also reminded of Toni Morrison, who said the purpose of white supremacy is to occupy our time, to slow us down, to waste our time. So not only are we fighting on one front, trying to get justice and keep police officers from killing us, but you're absolutely right. We're fighting on a second front, and that's a temporal front, a time front, because these people know if they can just stall us as long as they possibly can, they can have an entire life of freedom when they should have been in jail for the crimes they committed against Black people.
That's right. There's been 3 Black people who were killed in Minneapolis after the murder of George Floyd. Do you know their names? There has now been this study that has come out that has proven that the department has a history of being racist. Have you heard about that from any other news source besides here? Those are also critical questions that people need to be asking themselves, because the international media flocked into this community after the murder of George Floyd. Are they following this story now? Are they continuing to amplify the developments, the nuances, the complexities of this issue? Or have they moved on to the next news cycle? And so for me, Ben, that's why I continue to follow this, because it's just as important today as it was 2 years ago. Because to your point, justice delayed is justice denied. And had there have been a significant change 2 years ago, someone like Amir Locke would still be here.
That's right.
Because I know that on the ground, community leaders here presented bills. They drafted bills. They got more than 50,000 signatures for bills to be passed. One of them included no-knock warrants.
That's right.
Because of what happened to Breonna Taylor. They could look at that situation and see that fundamentally legislation needed to change in order to prevent something like that from happening here. They were not heard. They were not listened to. The signatures didn't matter to lawmakers. And so while maybe there were 1 or 2 things that passed through, it was watered down. And the significant change that was needed, like that bill, no-knock warrants, it got thrown to the wayside. That one change could have saved at least what we know of today, 1 life. So, we're going to continue to follow it. The DOJ's research has not been released yet. I don't think they've concluded their investigation. So we're going to continue to look out for that. But I'm guessing on a state level, if state investigators can find patterns and practices of racial discrimination, I'm guessing the federal government is going to find worse.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Georgia. We're definitely going to keep our eye on that story, along with so many others. Joining us now, is friend of the show, Professor Harvey Kaye, and none other than State Senator Nina Turner, who is running for the 11th Congressional District in Ohio. Good morning to both of you. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having us.
Thank you, Ben.
It is always a pleasure. I know there's a lot to talk about, and whenever you all come on, one of the things that we like to talk about is economic justice. One of the stories I was going to cover this morning is that Deutsche Bank is predicting another recession. Now, all of us of our age group, but even millennials now, younger people, have lived through multiple recessions, wars, climate change, so many things that are happening. I think it's really important for people to understand that we actually do have a right to live a better economic life. I don't know who wants to begin, Sister Turner or Professor Kaye, but talk to us about this economic Bill of Rights that we've been talking about on a regular basis on this show.
I always appreciate when Nina leads off.
Well, thanks, Dr. Kaye. And it's really good, again, to be here with you, Ben, and also Georgia. So, that prediction is absolutely correct. We saw it coming even before they predicted it. And before the pandemic, people were already in economic pain, economic challenge, economic difficulty. And most of these difficulties are systemic, meaning that the poor, the working poor, and the barely middle class in this country are being crushed by a system that does not see their intrinsic value, therefore does not ally itself or lay itself to a pattern that lifts them and the people that they love. And so when you are already at the lower rings of an economic system that rewards and worships oligarchs, you're going to catch a pretty hard time. And that is why the 21st Century Economic Bill of Rights is so important. And I definitely salute both Executive Director Alan Minsky of PDA, Progressive Democrats of America, and the one and only Dr. Harvey Kaye for bringing back to the forefront the 21st Century Economic Bill of Rights, which is rooted in the vision that President FDR had for this nation and also folks that came after President FDR, which is the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., one of the greatest unionists of the 20th century, Asa Philip Randolph, and so many other folks whose names we don't really know. A human thriving is that you want to live good and you want to live better. And if you have children and grandchildren, you want to know that they are going to inherit something better than what you have. That is a natural instinct. And what is happening in American economics, it's the antithesis of what it means to be human and have a thriving, to be able to live good. But we can do better. And so with that, I think Dr. Harvey Kaye can come on in here and wrap this package up.
One thing I want to say, and I think I warned everybody beforehand, before I say too much about the Economic Bill of Rights, I got to say it's only 5 days away until what may be the most significant primary that we will see in this truly profound primary year. And why do I say that? Because on Tuesday, the voters in Ohio, and I'm most concerned about the voters in the Cleveland area, will choose their nominee for Congress next year. And I have to say that I'm a fan, to put it clearly, of Nina Turner. I want everyone to realize that even now, donations, volunteers are essential to drive home what I hope to be a major victory on Tuesday and then a victory in November. And why do I say this? Look, I've been telling people for some time, I know that Ben has heard me in the past say that a really progressive candidate is not only the candidate who fights for you or promises to fight for you, but it's the candidate who inspires the fight in you. And if there is anyone in the political scene today who in many ways, I mean this sincerely, who kind of reflects that kind of FDR spirit, because that's what he was known for doing in the 30s and 40s. It is Nina Turner. Okay, that's right. She inspires me. I can tell you that. Now, why does that happen? It's not just because she's a great speaker. She's got a fabulous presence. It's also because more than any other candidate, she appreciates historical memory, historical consciousness, and historical imagination. And I think, and as a consequence, I've teamed up as much as I can with Nina to make the point that we need an economic Bill of Rights. And to my thrill and excitement, if you go to her website where you can donate, you will see at the top of her list, the top of her commitment is the pursuit of an economic Bill of Rights. And let me say, this goes back to 1944. When Franklin Roosevelt in the State of the Union message called for an economic Bill of Rights, knowing from polling that the majority of Americans, 85% of Americans, that was like 75% of Republicans included and 95% of Democrats, wanted after the war the guarantee of health care, the guarantee of a job at a living wage. You go right down the list. And by the way, at that time, as radical as it sounded, the overwhelming majority of Americans wanted it. And today, the overwhelming majority of Americans want that economic Bill of Rights. Now, what will Nina Turner bring to Congress? I'm merging these two questions. What's really significant is there are already a host of bills presented, advanced in Congress that address each of those economic Bill of Rights that you're now seeing on the screen. The Progressive Caucus, most especially those folks we know of as the Squad, have introduced bills to address, respectively, the right to a useful job that pays a living wage, Presley's resolution for a federal jobs guarantee. You'll see as it goes through, the right to a voice in the workplace through a union and collective bargaining. Representative Bobby Scott's Protect the Right to Organize Act, AKA the PRO Act, okay, which literally revived the 35 National Labor Relations Act. Pramila Jayapal's Medicare for All Act, which is our call for the right to comprehensive quality health care, right? The right to a complete cost-free public education and access to broadband internet. There's a College for All Act. Jamal Bowman's Green New Deal for Public Schools Act. Skip over the next name. Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's Green New Deal for Public Housing Act addresses the right to a decent, safe, affordable housing. The right to clean environment and a healthy planet. It is all laid out there in several. Cori Bush, Andy Levin, Ro Khanna's bills. Ayanna Pressley's American Opportunities Act, the right to a meaningful endowment of resources at birth, which gets at the idea of what we think of as baby bonds, okay, which will restructure over time the wealth distribution in America, not only by way of class, but decidedly by way of race and ethnicity. The right to sound banking and financial services. The right to an equitable and economically fair justice system. And by the way, rather than my racing as I'm doing, you can go to Common Dreams and just type in 21st Century Economic Bill of Rights, and you will see the three pieces that we presented there. The first, the manifesto. The second, the evidence that Democrats, not Democrats generally, but progressives in particular, already endorsed the idea of an economic Bill of Rights. But now let me get to the key thing here. What is missing in all of this, and this is why Nina Turner's presence in Congress is so essential. And I'm not saying that other members of Congress are not thinking in these terms, but Nina has embraced the vision of an economic Bill of Rights. And let's face it, this November, we're going to have an election which is not only going to decide whether or not we're going to continue anything that might be close to something like a Build Back Better Act, which right now is dead in the water. It's a question of whether or not we're going to continue democracy in America.
That's right.
And right now, the answer is not to retreat. The answer is to become all the more dynamic and aggressive and imaginary.
Amen.
Look, when we face crises of a mortal sort, the only way we have defeated our enemies and transcended those crises is by going progressive, indeed, excuse my language, radical. And the Economic Bill of Rights will remind Americans of what the Democratic Party is supposed to be about, what the United States is supposed to be about. One last thing.
Professor,
I know I got to say one last thing. A. Philip Randolph. A. Philip Randolph in 1926 gave a speech, okay? And in this speech, he said, I love this speech. He said, look, contrary to what too many historians have been telling Americans in the 1920s, it was African Americans who brought, with federal troops undeniably, democracy to Dixie. And he said, ever since that time, African Americans have served ably and significantly in the American labor movement. And then he said, in a prophetic fashion, perhaps in the 20th century, it will be African Americans who bring economic democracy to America. Well, maybe we're a little late. Maybe we're a little late. But Nina Turner can be that kind of voice and that kind of leader to inspire her fellow progressives and literally inspire America. I apologize.
No, go absolutely. And then Georgia, I'll yield to you because I was just going to laud Nina Turner a bit more because the more we can talk about her campaign, I feel like the closer we can get to those things. Go ahead, Sister Ford.
Yeah, I mean, I want to double down on what Professor said there, and you said so much. When you talk about this being radical, however, there's so much of it that just feels like basic human rights. And that's right. Everything that you said about Senator Turner, from her being an inspiration to her inspiring us all to fight, is so true because of her authenticity and her love for people and her courageousness to keep going. And so it is always an honor to have you here on the show with us. We're all fans. The one question I do have is, with this bill, how do people in other cities, in other states, connect with their local lawmakers or representatives and ask them or encourage them, that as constituents, they want and they expect them to support this bill?
Is that to me or to Senator Turner?
Senator Turner, jump in there.
To either one.
Okay. You bring up a very good point that we don't necessarily have to wait for the feds to get a clue, because so often it takes them too long to get the clue. We can make these things local. For example, across the country, municipalities have passed a $15 an hour minimum wage. So have states. And so we don't have to wait for the feds to get it. This can and should bubble up from the local level, and we got to put pressure on the feds. It would be beautiful if those two pressures met each other, where you have a whole host of elected officials on all levels of government pushing for a living wage, pushing for universal health care. We know that, for example, in the great state of California, they tried it. They've tried it at least twice, over the last 10 years. And the more they try, there's going to become a breaking point where it is going to happen. And if you have states like California and New York that actually produce universal health care, a version of universal health care in their states, that brings a good pressure to other states in the United States of America. So I would recommend that people go to Common Dreams, download the 3 or 4 articles that have already been penned by Dr. Harvey Kaye and Executive Director Alan Minsky. So happy to have been able to help and lend some advice to that. And that way the constituencies, the voters, the activists will have that information in hand, and then go to your elected officials on all levels and ask them to introduce and model the pieces that are already there in Congress. So that way, locally, regionally, and on the state level, we can show the feds how this is done. And then at the same time, because these things need to happen at the same time, putting pressure, putting the hammer on the folks on the federal level, because the federal level has the biggest stick. It will have the greatest impact, and we shouldn't have to piecemeal liberty and justice for all. It should be for all across this great nation. But we're not certainly going to sit back and wait. Georgia, that was an excellent question.
Hello, somebody. I'm telling you, there's not a morning. Sister Turner, let's talk about your race just a little bit as it pertains to these nuances, because there is a difference, right? Let's be clear. Like, not everyone who has a D by their name is going to be supporting these types of policies, Medicare for all these critical issues. And it's not just in your race, but all across the country, right? This is just standard operating procedure at this point, where we have a faction of this Democratic Party who says that they care about the people, but they're not enacting policies. Talk about the differences in your race.
Yeah, the difference between somebody that is going to vote the right way compared to somebody that's going to fight the right way. At some point, you have to draw the ire of the status quo, of the ruling class, if in fact you truly are fighting for the least of these, our sisters and our brothers and our family and friends. That is the major difference that I am willing to and have proven myself, even in this moment, even after the special election, Georgia and Ben and Dr. Kaye. Certainly I went through the stages of grief over that election because of what happened, the levels of dark money that came into this race to try to pollute and dilute the minds of the people who live, work, and play here. And we do have to deal with the inordinate influence that the oligarchs have on policies, and they are the major reason, besides getting elected officials that have some intestinal fortitude. Since this is a PG show, I'll keep it right there. I want to say something more more striking, but I'll just keep intestinal fortitude. We need those two things. We have to get the influence of big money out of politics, and we need to elect more people who have intestinal fortitude. So when people talk about I voted or I'll vote or if it comes my way, those are not the people you want to elect. You want to know that of matters of great importance, like your health, your well-being, the well-being of your children, your children's children, whether or not you can breathe clean air, eat clean food, drink clean water, like just the basic things. We can't even even go past, Maslow's hierarchy of needs on that base. It's the physiological need. We can't even get to self-actualization until we get a system that understands very clearly that the basics that this progressive movement is talking about is something that people deserve. And that is why I am so in love with the 21st Century Economic Bill of Rights. Being able to walk down memory lane with Dr. Kaye and Alan is a very big deal because it is in us. And when Dr. Kaye talks about being radical, I think it was Dr. Angela Davis who let us know radical just means getting to the root. So it's not a word to be afraid of. You want people who are willing to get to the root of the conundrum, of the problem. And that is what made FDR so successful, even though there were flaws there. Don't get us wrong. We know the racialized nature of some stuff needed to be fixed. But here we are in the 21st century. We have a template that we can enhance. Thanks to FDR, who said, "Judge me by my enemies." He told the status quo of his day, "I welcome your hatred." Well, we have the same status quo. It's called oligarchs. It's the oil industry. It's the pharmaceutical industry. It is the healthcare industry that is the sick care industry. They do not want us to have universal healthcare. They do not want us to have a Green New Deal. They do not want you to live a good life. All they want to do is jet up to space and monk it up there. And after they got done messing up Mother Earth, they're going to leave the rest of us down here. We can have better. But more importantly, I want the people of this country to know in their soul that they deserve better. Because once you comport yourself in that manner, that you know that you know that you know that you know that you deserve better, then you will never allow anybody to walk over you, to mess over you, to mess with what you love. And that is planet, that is people, baby. And charity starts at home and spreads abroad. And so we got to get a lot more charity here. And for God's sakes, absolutely has to spread abroad. We are citizens of this nation, and we are also citizens of the world. What happens over there happens over here. So we need this 21st Century Economic Bill of Rights. We deserve this 21st Century Economic Bill of Rights.
That's right. And when you think about why we needed even to expand, look, I think before it was 61% of Americans were in the middle class. That's now shrunk down to 50%. The middle class is shrinking. And not that, being in the middle class is something that's luxurious, but at least people were able to buy homes and meet some of those basic needs and pass a little something down to their children. And that's becoming more and more out of reach as the economics in our nation are shifting. The rich is becoming richer, the poor is becoming poorer. And those numbers to me tell me that something like this is so needed. Even you have families who are out here shopping for homes right now. Homes are selling for $50,000, $60,000, $70,000, $100,000 over the asking price. If you're on that bottom end of middle class, there's no way you can even compete. You could be approved for a home loan and not even be able to buy a house because homes are selling way more than market value. And so, I think that you both have touched on why these bills are so needed from an economic standpoint, from an environmental standpoint.
That's right.
And how people can get in and support. The date you mentioned briefly, Professor, that's approaching soon is primaries, correct?
On Tuesday, indeed, and I want to repeat, the most important primary of this election season is this coming Tuesday in Ohio. Everyone must do what they can this weekend to boost an already dynamic campaign by Nina Turner to send her to Congress next year. I can tell you that I'm not even thinking about any other primaries. This is the only one that in my heart, I believe is fundamental to the democracy in America.
Absolutely. This Tuesday, Sister Turner, Nina Turner, I am going to be supporting you, and everyone who around us who supports you, we're going to be throwing all of our support to push you. I just want to say this for anyone who may not know, like FDR said, you'll know a person by their enemies. And Sister Turner, I like the people who don't like you. I like that list. It's because I don't like them either. Those people who are lining up against you to make themselves your enemy, those are the type of people we don't want in our coalition, because we need people who are going to fight with integrity. That's just my bully pulpit for a second. I want you to know that we've got your back, because we also know who are the people coming after you, and we are going after them.
Thank you so much, Brother Ben, Sister Georgia. I really do appreciate that. And, you know, we should all be concerned, not just about what's happening in the 11th Congressional District, but as we all know here, that when money like that, the magnitude that's coming into this district happens here, it's happening over there too. The 11th Congressional District could be anywhere in this country where oligarchs decide who's going to lead. And just because the oligarch and just because the person you run it against may be from your same, you know, tribe, so to speak, does not mean that they are your kind. It is a difference here. It is, and we cannot allow people to come into our community and decide who our leaders are going to be and hide behind a black face. The bottom line is that having $2 million or more, it's probably going to be more than that when all is said and done. I mean, I can't even keep up with the number of super PACs that they are creating just to bump up against one little girl from Cleveland, one now grown a woman from Cleveland, just one. I mean, I keep joking. My black girl magic must be something else, baby. I mean, it must be, because it, you know. The rapper, when he says it's going to take a nation of millions, you know, they some millions to hold me back. I'm starting to feel like that right now. But on a more serious note, in terms of what a real representative democracy looks like, when you have that magnitude of money coming from an oil baroness that donated, you know, $2 million to the DMFI PAC, and they're using $1 million of it in this race. When you have a cryptocurrency billionaire from Silicon Valley decide to peek over and peer over into this district and decide to drop $1 million in, when you have these kind of blue dog status quo keeping Democrats look over into the 11th Congressional District to say, we don't want a freedom fighter to come to Congress. We don't want somebody that's going to shake things up. We don't want someone who's going to force us to look in the mirror at ourselves and determine whose side we really on. Let us dip on in the 11th Congressional District in Greater Cleveland and suppress the vote by maligning and manipulating. That should not happen anywhere in the country. And I would be saying this whether I was on the ballot or not. It is wretched, you know, and that is why one of the worst Supreme Court decisions of our time, and there have been many bad ones, is Citizens United. And we got to do something about that. And organizations like American Promise and some others who are laser focused on trying to overturn Citizens United so that this level of money cannot pour into communities, and that you really give the voice back to the people whose voice it really is, who should be making the decision. It's a difference between getting $27 from somebody that lives, you know, in another state and getting $2 million from singular sources who do not care about the health and well-being of anybody in the 11th Congressional District. They've never stepped foot in this district to feed the homeless, to look our children in the eye, to make sure that they're getting a good education, that their communities are safe and beautiful. They don't care about that. They only care about their singular focus, which is to keep power and control, and they will buy politicians. And it is unfortunate that one of the politicians in this race that is running is for sale, just like so many others.
And the truth shall set you free. Professor Harvey Kaye, State Senator Nina Turner, we are looking forward to supporting you. Everyone in the 11th District, go out and vote this Tuesday in that primary. Thank you both for joining us this morning.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Always a pleasure.
And Georgia, it is always a pleasure. We'll see you next time, Georgia.
Absolutely.
We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, there's more on the Benjamin Dixon Show. Morning show, like it or not, it's getting ready to go down. We'll be back after this quick break.
Take a sip till I pass out. Try and get grit, but it don't make sense. Cause you could lose life on this fast route. Yeah, turn thoughts to a cash cow. I might flip that to the glass house.
I don't know if y'all screen smoking like my screen smoking, but goddamn. Shout out to Senator Nina Turner and Professor Harvey Kaye. Thank y'all so much for joining us this morning. Y'all go out there and light it up, man. Thank y'all for all the work that y'all doing. We greatly appreciate y'all. And y'all make sure that you stay tuned, because like it or not, it's about to go down. Rebecca is in the building. Good morning, everybody.
Do it at me, old man, trying to pass in the fear. You're the first one to talk, but the last one to hear. Eyes blurry, but I couldn't see that. And he cleared down. Start to feel like I'm on one. Settle in, I'll be here for the long run. I'm a slave for the cash, got snakes in the grass, no brakes on the ad, but it's all fun. We done seen it all, heard it all. Heard enough, give me space for I murder murder y'all. 10 bad here.
All right, y'all, real quick. We're going to get our new Twitch subscribers read off here.
Lighten up. Hear him talking, they ain't right enough. Tighten up. Everything that I came for, I left with. I don't bang sets, I just bang on the
all right, shout out to...
Pass up it when I came for the breakfast. Put me in your prayers, I might put you on the guest list. Young, tell me reckless. Gold in my soul, got the same on the necklace.
Shout out to Real Rad Horn, who rated our channel with 105 viewers. Shout out to Tiger Katsune 13, who resubscribed and commented. It's a whole year old, and they've been subscribed for 12 months. Shout out to Emma VRC1G, who resubscribed, and they've been subscribed. I'm sorry, who subscribed for 3 months. I'm sorry, resubscribed. Subscribed for 3 months. That was all kinds of tongue tied this morning, y'all. Y'all make sure y'all stay tuned, man. Like it or not, it's about to go down. If you have not already, patreon.com/like it or not, patreon.com/the BPD show. Make sure that you go sign up today because you don't want to miss the patron party tomorrow, the karaoke edition. It's going down, so bring your singing voices. You don't have to sing good. You just get up there and do you. That's all that matters. And FYI, so also, my girlfriend gets mad whenever I mess with her red wine. So I added fruit and lemonade to it, and now she's sangria than ever. Like it or not, it's going down. Like it or not, y'all stick around. Oh, Rebecca's on. It's coming through. Hey, Rebecca. You know she got a good story for you. Oh, Elizabeth Lonzo, good morning. Kareem, good morning to you. Manticore, good morning. This is his show. He's a politics bro. I am your DJ exclusive. Industrial Law, shout out to you, brother. Good morning to you. Stay dropping them jams. Like it Melody Dennis, good morning. It's going down. Like it or not, y'all stick around. Oh, like it or not, it's starting now. Like it or not, it's about to go down. Tyra, good morning to you.
Like it or not, with Benjamin Dixon starts now.
Delicious. Good morning, good morning, good morning.
Good morning and welcome to Like It or Not, where we're free to tell the truth
and not care who doesn't like it.
Yeah!
We did it, y'all. We
That's extra.
Did it.
And I didn't come for y'all, though. I came for Nina, and then I didn't come for y'all.
Oh, you didn't come for us.
So you ain't come for us. You ain't gonna be on time for us.
Actually, I didn't have. Actually, I was gonna be on time. Period today because my time is at 9:00. Whenever I don't show up on time in the morning is because first of all background, but whenever I don't show up on time in the morning, that's because I've either had a impromptu meeting or I am being
hungover,
coached. Okay. I have to do those things in the morning. So it's not that I don't want to be here for the first start of the morning. I mean, shoot, I could love an extra sleep. I told y'all what I do. I sit on the edge of the bed and I think about my life around like 7:30-ish, and usually I would like to work out, but that's not the case. I don't get to do that anymore in the mornings. So yeah.
No, F corporate America, man.
Yeah, it's cool though. It's up and down. It changes background. It's up and down and it changes, right? So like it's like you don't know when you're going to get to a steady like consistency. Okay, this is my schedule, whatever the case may be. In the field that I work in, they just send out an email and they say, we can change things here, there, around all the time. And so one day I can go in and this is my supervisor or whatever, and the next day I go in, it's another person. You know what I'm saying? So, or this is my schedule on this week, and this is what works for me and my lifestyle. They can be like, tomorrow, we want you to come in at times that don't work for you, and that's all right. And it's like, you gotta go with it. So.
So today I have like 2 meetings today, and I'm like, normally Thursday is not my meeting day, but I have 2 early meetings. I have a meeting directly after this, another meeting at 1:30. Granted, I don't clock in until 3:00. So now I got 2 meetings outside of my work time. Then I got to log in at 3 and work until midnight. On top of a whole lot of other stuff that I got to do. So it's just like, y'all just taking my day today, huh? Cool.
Yeah. You know what works in like, it's funny because you'll go in, and this is why I say about going into the office. Going into the office, you got to prepare yourself 2 hours before. And you don't really have squeezing in right before it if you try to work out, because I used to do that. Right before you try to work out, just so that you can maintain some kind of good attitude for your day. And I recall a lot of people say, you gonna sleep when you dead. Grind right now, because you can sleep when you dead. No, I'm tired. I'm not efficient. I am not someone who's effective. You cannot utilize me. I don't bring my best self to the table. I don't show up if I am exhausted. Yeah, I could work being tired. But if I have literally worn myself out only to do it again every day. And like I said, starting the beginning of our day, and you know, no offense to anybody who likes working in offices, everybody, you know, to each his own. Some people do like going into the office because it gives them a sense of family or just being around people, because being at home all the time is kind of in isolation for them. So, but getting up in the morning, having to prepare yourself to go into the job, and you have to do this 2 hours before. Depending on where you live, it might be more, it might be less. For me, it's always 2 hours before, because I have to do my makeup. I have to pick an outfit, because that makes me happy. Walking into the office looking good, at least I'm going to look good. Right. At least I'm going to have my heels click-clacking. You know what I'm saying? You know, got to beat my face. Usually work out, but I haven't been able to do that. But and then breathe, meditate, pray. God,
don't let it hurt nobody on his job.
Don't let that lady bother me today, God. I don't want to cuss her out today, Lord. So give me the patience, and please send her a message right now to stand down. Stand down.
Rebecca, let me ask you, do you do that before you leave the house, or do you do that sitting outside in the car outside of work?
Before I leave the house. And then when I go outside and I don't find a parking spot where I'm supposed to find a parking spot in front of the building, I have to go to the garage. And from the garage, on my way walking into the building, I'm making that prayer. Because you know I got on a hill. So I got on a hill and I'm walking down a hill from that garage. So I am making a prayer. God, it's starting off crazy this morning.
Already.
God, I didn't make it to my parking spot this morning. Lord Jesus, I'm asking you right now, don't let nobody in the office disrespect me today. Lord Jesus, please, God, don't let that manager that don't like me and keep offering me Michelle Obama earrings. Please, Lord, don't let her talk to me. Don't let her talk to me. It's a weird old lady. She keeps offering me Michelle Obama earrings. I don't understand it. But anyway.
Is she black or white?
You know, she's black, but she doesn't like me because I challenged her against the big boss and I won. Don't play with me. But anyways, and then so you do that the whole time, and then you get to that's not even when you get to your lunch portion. Now it's time for lunch. Now it's time for your break. Not your 15-minute break at the start of the day, depending on when you start. Not that 15. I'm talking about your hour lunch. You're on your last call, or you're in your last meeting before lunch, or you are you're on the phone, you're sending an email that has to be sent before a certain time, and you're trying to beat it right before lunch so that you can make it to lunch on time. Now it's time for lunch, and you have to log out, y'all, walk down the stairs, take the elevator, go through the back door, walk up the hill now. That's about 8 minutes. already of your time. Walk up the hill, get to your car, sit there, be pissed. Think about now where you can go that won't cut into the time that you had in before that you scheduled for. Now you got to think about something closer. Closer is going to be fattening. Closer is going to be fast food. Closer is not going to be the Cuban spot, the Haitian spot, the Mexican joint. Closer ain't going to be that. Closer is going to be McDonald's, which I wouldn't do. But, with McDonald's, Wendy's, it's going to be those places. That's closer. So and now you got to eat that. And now you got to go order it. Go park back. Go back to the building to see if you can get a parking spot in the front now. Just so you can eat it at least in the car. Mm-hmm. But now if you got to park up there, you got to park back at the hill, got to run back down, go back into the office, sit at your desk and eat the same place you were trying to prevent yourself from eating at in the building. Sit at your desk and eat your food just so that you can make it back on time to pick up the first call, go into that meeting, or send that email on time.
And Rebecca said something, y'all. An hour lunch. I only wish I could have that.
It's never an hour lunch. It's never really, not even for the hour
That's
people.
All we get.
It's not an hour
30
lunch.
30 minutes.
Yeah. And when you have 30-minute lunch, imagine that. When you're in the office.
I have to bring my lunch with me. I have to, because 30 minutes, I don't have time to go do nothing else. By the time I get out the door down the building, it's 10 minutes gone off my break already. They give me 20 minutes to go to McDonald's.
I have to leave the building for my sanity. Because when I was working in the building, my phone didn't work. The service on my phone didn't work. I had to email my friends and family just to be like, hey girl, what you doing? And they check your emails when you're sending them to somebody personal. They have to flag them. They have to check them. So they got to read your email first. It's like going through TSA. They got to read your email first. It could be like, this BS job, this tired of this. They got to read that first and then send it to your friend or family member. Crazy.
They screen your emails.
Right. They screen your emails
before you send your emails out.
Mm-hmm.
Devil is a liar.
Screen it, and then you have to, because my phone isn't working. I have no service on my phone. They did that on purpose, but people, and that's why people started getting another service, because they found that at the time Verizon and AT&T were the only ones that were working in the building, and a lot of people didn't have that at the time. So nobody was able to make calls to their kids or nothing like that. If you needed to make a call to your kid, it was unpaid time walking towards the door or looking for service. And, I missed a lot of important things sitting in that building. So it's just jail. It's more like jail time. And I go to the window and I put my hand on it and I look at all the cars go by. And I say, wow, it's about to be dark outside. I came here in the daytime. I remember my schedule was from 1 to midnight. That's 1 p.m. to midnight, y'all.
My God.
Yeah. So anyways, that's my story about the office. But my morning time now, I may complain about being tired in the morning from home, but baby, I could walk over to the bathroom, splash some cold water on my face just to pick it up a little bit. If I'm not going to work out in the morning, I know on my break, I can do a workout here in the house, or I can do at least 2 miles out there. And then, I can take a 15, but I can tell them it's system issues. Y'all, be privy to the game. I can tell them it's system issues just to take a breather.
Rebecca, don't tell
Nah, everybody, it's okay, because this is all over social media. They can't say that I'm doing this for real.
Okay.
I mean, it is what it is. But, I can take a break and just go take a breather without them clocking me that I went to the bathroom. Because, at the job, you go to the bathroom and you're standing against the wall like this. I hate it.
Trying to get them minutes in.
I'll just sit down on the toilet, not doing nothing, just sitting there, because that's the only place you can get peace at.
Yeah, man! On the toilet because it's ill. And
y'all are giving me flashbacks, man. Good Lord, that's horrible.
Yes, it's horrible. It's crazy. It's uncomfortable. It's for people who have anxiety. You've been sent that email to go back into the job, or you're already in there and you're just anxious. Not only about the COVID environment, just being in that environment that almost jails you mentally and physically. It jails you. And so I understand it. I get it. I'm right with you. Nobody wants to be taking damn Lexapro every day just to go to work, just to get through it at work. It doesn't we're trying to wean off of taking drugs, even though this is very helpful. You don't want to do that every single day just to go to work. Nothing is natural about how you're feeling, and you're just sick to your stomach about being around these people and, being supervised, all of the above. So, my heart goes out to each and every one of us who are, having to go through that right now. But I was already a rebel when I was in there. I did my work and left. If I felt like it was a hard day for me, I would clock out and go, and I would just forfeit the money for that time. Like, I would not care, because I feel like I'm being jailed. I didn't even have a lunch. And on my break time, I would go and get 2 margaritas. And if I felt crazy after, I would sit in the parking lot and think about my life, and then sober enough, I would drive home. No, I don't want to be here right now.
Rebecca, you've been going through.
Yes.
Rebecca, you've been going
Yeah, no, I would. And then I'm too.
The struggle is real.
It is.
Yeah, I would get in trouble for some of my outfits, y'all. And I'm like, are you guys serious?
Thank you, Mccarthy. Yes.
People have on sandals and whatever. I don't do that. You would never find me in this building doing that. They would be like, can you just tone down? Tone down what? And I don't even come there. Y'all see me. I ain't got nobody's ass. But they hate for me to wear a fitted skirt, a pencil skirt.
James, why you looking?
Because she's stupid. She ain't got no damn sense. She's got nobody's ass. She got a little bit back there.
Little booties matter. Little booties matter.
But anyway, that's my office story for everybody. I have some things that are definitely too superficial about being in the office, of course, but there are things that are really breaking me mentally. Changing just the fact that I knew that we were changed. The pandemic has definitely was a revelation of so many different things. You didn't have to be in the office to get the work that they required done. You didn't have to be having somebody over your shoulder and saying, "Oh, just listen to your call," without your permission. You could actually get permission for that. You didn't have to go and time yourself on the 5 minutes that you took to go walk. I can actually go get something to eat and work while I'm eating at the place of my choice, and actually be more effective in working. The numbers have gone up tremendously for people working from home during the pandemic. The numbers don't lie. It is something that the people want to do. The more the profit that these companies, especially these big companies, have gained during the pandemic is bigger than when people were inside of the office. So now I remember being in a recent meeting and one of the execs were saying, we need to go now. We need to start now. I know that the CDC is saying one thing, but if we start as a people to form together, to get back in the office, mind you, he was sitting in his office at home. You can tell he was dressed in probably gym shorts, and he had a blazer and a shirt on, from the waist up, and gym shorts and probably no shoes from the waist down. And and so that's what I'm saying. So don't tell me why you sitting at home and you're not even in our city to tell us that we need to be back in that building. The people who wanted to be back in the building are the people who applied just recently and got accepted for the position. They give them the option, and a lot of them said they wanted to be back into the office. And they are back into the office. For those of us who are at home and who have found it to be something that we can do, and a great life balance for us, life and work balance. Let us do that while we continue to make your company money. So, it is control. It definitely is control.
Yeah. And it makes sense. A lot of, Rebecca, it goes exactly what you said. We have a lot of our new employees. They have to start in the office before they can transition going home. So that's cool for them. If they can stay in the office and work and get enough training done, then move home, I don't see why we can't just go ahead and do that. So y'all trying to force me to come back in the office for what? I can do everything I need to do from this laptop, monitor people on the phone, whatever it is. I don't need to be in that office. Who am I seeing? Because the trainees, they're not even with me. They're with the trainers. So there's not a need for me to be up there. Now I will, and even if I have to meet them, this is a video call that you can do and put my ass on the big screen in that conference room, and I will introduce myself that way.
Yeah.
And all of them know who I am without even seeing me.
They don't want you to have that same grace that the execs have, or that same ability that the execs have. That's what it is. You know why? Because they want you to feel like you are always less than. Listen, I already know that I'm not making the same money as him, but that does not mean that these small details of me working from home and me being able, I have the ability to get on video, make it to this meeting, and still be effective at my job and continue to get you money for this corporation. But the fact that my position is considered less than this person's position, you have to be tenured to work from home and to get the ability to turn on your camera for the meeting.
Alicia in the chat said we had this conversation at least one time per week. We do, because it's bullshit.
and because it's getting closer for me to go into the office. So, I'm going to complain about it every time I show up, but I pop up.
Well, I think it's an important issue because everybody normal experiences this. And when I say normal, I mean those who don't have executive level jobs. That's most of America. Most of America experiences this either in a call center kind of packed in situation or a warehouse situation. All right. And if you look, I don't have to tell y'all are in Atlanta, but over there where I used to live in Atlanta, there are more warehouses being put up than grocery stores, than hospitals, and anything else. And as you drive by, you see the people come out, they are demoralized, they are drained, they're desperate. And that's exactly where these corporations want to keep you, because something happens when you actually get free time. I'm going to say this. I've been working on this show, doing this media thing for, 10 years now, 7 years, 10 years. I lose track of time, right? It has been a very difficult road. And it wasn't until the beginning of the pandemic that I actually got enough traction to be able to stay home and not work a second and third job, right? The first 7 years of doing this, I was working a second, third job. I worked an overnight shift. I did all that kind of stuff. Y'all realize when I had a chance to stay at home for the first time in my adult life, how much peace I got, how much clarity I got, how much time I got to spend with my kids. I lost weight. I was healthier, and I wasn't going to put up with shit anymore. And that's the thing. When you get enough free time to actually get your wits about you and sit down and think about what these people have been doing to you on your job,
saying that.
You're not going to. That's it.
Yeah, dead ass. And what I realized when I was working in the office 5 days a week, I stopped doing a lot of the stuff that I was doing because I used to excel. But when I tell you I was that man at work, just like, man, I'm on top of it. Then I just got burned out. And I'm just like, bro, I'll be in my office going to sleep, door open. I didn't give a damn. Bubba, you okay? Oh, yeah, I'm good. So once they move me home, I'm just like, oh, yeah, 2 days in the office or 3 days in the office. It's a balance. I can do that because now I'm not stressed out, especially while I'm here. I'm not doing anything when I'm in the office. I get more done at home than I will in that office because it's constant interruptions. Leave my ass home. You want this company to do good? Leave my ass at home. I guarantee you everything will go good.
They won't do that.
My ass home.
Yeah, it's a mental thing, Ben. Once we were free, like you said, we become dangerous to these corporations because now they're like, you're not supposed to be able to see, right? You're not supposed to be able to see this part of living. America works off of making you get up by your bootstraps. You need to earn each and every one of these. You can't sit back like the execs. You can't have that same leisure. You can't have that same comfortableness. You can't have that. You don't get to do that. You got to get up every morning because that shows hard work. And then after 10 years of doing this hard work, then we can move you to the next position. And after 10 years of doing that hard work, then we continue move you to the next position. And then you can start getting ready for retirement and then use your 401k when you only got 5 years left on your life.
And then retirement is going to work the door greeter position at Walmart.
Because you don't want to be home. Because you don't want to be home. You don't want to be home. No, because you've learned to be a worker your whole damn life. You don't know how to be home. You don't know how to be free.
Ooh. Somebody tell Gwen that because you said it right. If it's not a door greeter at Walmart, it's at a desk at a community center. It's the same
Salvation
thing.
Army, baby. They ringing that bell.
Somewhere.
They ringing that bell.
And when I tell y'all, I hate my mama back in that office working out. I'm mama, quit. I don't want you to put up having to deal with these rude ass people every day, all day.
Every day?
Just because you're trying to get an extra coin. And it's true. It's like you work your whole damn life to retire. And then you get home, it's just like, damn, I don't know what to do while I'm at home because you've been trained and conditioned to work your whole life. And especially as black people, we don't know anything about retirement or having that money. It just seems like we just there. So once we done working, we done working. The only reason that we gonna stop working is because either we dead or we got a medical condition going on.
They said sleep when you dead, baby. Keep working.
Listen, can I tell y'all? It bothers me watching social media now, TikTok and Instagram, because I'm not doing the Twitter thing anymore. But it really, really bothers me to see how much free time white people have. It really does. What? They're out here learning Wing Chun, Kung Fu. They're out here doing parkour. They're jumping off of mountains. They're doing all kind of stuff. They base jumping. I mean, they skydiving with like half a parachute and teaming up with the other person to match the other half of the parachute so they don't die. They got all this free time. But we're the ones that are getting called lazy when we wake up at 4 a.m. to catch the city bus at 5 to go clock in at Dunkin' Donuts because somebody got to serve your ass coffee as you go to your bougie jobs, right? There are people who have been grinding every second of their lives who have never had a single moment of free time. And yet we get scolded by folks who got nothing but free time. So much free time, y'all turn into superheroes. The hell?
Yep.
Bless God. And then have the nerve because during the pandemic, it wasn't only a pandemic for us. We had inclement weather. We had a lot of situations happening. We had to deal with, going out there to protest for our rights during that time. And they expect you to still show up to a corporation that does not support that movement.
Hello.
And to take calls or receive emails or complaints that label you. The other day I was on the phone just trying to get a client, back in order. The client called me a hard ER.
See, it's like I would be on your side. And I would actually
the client called me a hard ER. It's not the first time. I had to let the people know, like, hey, my actual career in my job, my day job, my morning job, I get my comment section is filled with things that call me all kinds of names. That's not a problem. When I can't, when they say it's protocol not to disconnect the call, not reply to the email, can't report the client because this client makes big money, another corporation owner that I can't be rude to.
Right.
Honey, now Rebecca, I got in trouble for that the other day because, baby, the way that I went off sounded off like nobody's business, baby. Call me the trumpet because the way that I sounded off. Don't play with me. Don't play with me.
And when I tell you, Rebecca, you hit on a lot of points because during the whole pandemic, during the what they call civil unrest, during the civil unrest, here it is. I'm taking my agents are taking calls for a very reputable food service company. And when I tell you these, and I hate to say it, but some of our Caucasian brothers and sisters, it just seems like they don't care who they're talking to on the phone. I've heard calls where they're calling my agents bitches. They're calling them hoes. They're calling them the hard ERs. They're saying that you're going to hell for feeding these people. They're just saying all kind of stuff. And it's just like, and if I know I'm mentally tired, hush, girl. I know if I'm mentally tired, then I know my agents, right at this point right now, my agents is like, I got some anxiety issues and I need to take a break.
Man.
And I can't do numbers, and I have to be like, I understand and I feel you. I'm like, I take some time off the phone because it's too much. And I remember being on the phone and I hated it. Somebody called me a bitch one time, and when I tell you I got up and threw my headset at the desk, had to walk out because I'm like, I'm about to call this lady out her damn name myself. Because at this point, I'm willing to risk it all. You ain't gonna talk to me sideways.
God bless y'all. I don't know how y'all do it the first time. I did I had an overnight tech job where I was helping this guy out of Australia. I mean, small dick energy, but he was a big asshole.
Not a big
dick asshole.
Big energy.
Small dick energy, but just like a huge asshole. And my thing is, it's like, now this is the difference. Here's the difference. I want people to really understand. Now, I worked the overnight job, but I worked for a tech company, right? Here's the difference. My company said, we will fire customers, right? That empowered me to put up with that man from Australia for about 30, 45 minutes on that support call. And then I finally said, you know what, sir, this is not going to end the way that you think it's going to end because we don't tolerate this, right? Our company. But no, now you got to flip it. That's not how regular workers are treated, right? I had to realize later that's privilege, because in a regular setting, that customer is allowed to treat you however they want, so long as you get that money from them. And that's just not realistic.
Money over everything. Even
money
in
over
these
everything.
huge corporations, they expect you to be spoken to because, and then some of them will tell me, you think you have more money than me? I never said that. I don't know why that's an argument for people. I never brought that up. I never said that. I don't. That's why I'm working here. I don't know why. I'm really just trying to get you right so that we can move forward. But I mean,
trying to help them and they cussing you out.
Yep. I'm not Vector. I'm not going
not
door
knowing
to
you
door
don't
to
even
sell
like
you
the bank.
knives.
You don't even like the bank.
No, I don't even hell no. I don't.
Hell no.
So
I'm on your side, idiot.
Like I'm going off on these people every day with you. So like you don't even like come on, let's talk about that. But no,
like, I'm not even the one that made your chicken sandwich, but goddamn, you talking to me like I was in the kitchen slaving over it. Like I put my own damn hand in your food. Bitch, I'm bald. Whatever.
But the thing is, I want to listen to you. I'm a great if you I heard your issue. Now let me respond and tell you how I can help you out. Let me get you right, honey. I know that these fees tacked on to all of these things that you were doing, I'm the one that opened your whole account. Let me get you right. Let me get you right.
They got to call you the
power. And you know what I'm saying? And they be like, no, you know what you did. You know what you did, Rebecca. You don't know me. You don't know me. You don't know. Listen, look, here go me.
Charge my account, Rebecca.
My wine glass be in my hand. I'm like, you don't know me.
You don't know this.
And then all of a sudden, if it's too much, I either disconnect the call and I'll be like, system issues.
Yeah.
You know those people are sitting watching this show and say, "Oh, that's what
and God bless them, because listen, you got me going into the office. What y'all really don't want to fire me so that I don't get no money. So like, what's
damn?
Like,
can we say the name so they might fire you? Then can we do that?
Nah, we ain't gonna say that.
Okay.
But I will say their name. Look, I will say their name as soon enough because I believe that. Look, because now
the Lord is making the way.
I believe that God is going to do something for me. I believe
Amen.
that I'll be free. Because at the end of the day, like I'm actually like.
Come on.
Mm-hmm.
Shit about a Hyundai.
And I'm going on vacation for my birthday. Look, Ben, you already knew this. This is not a revelation on camera. I'm going on vacation.
Here we go. Because
I don't think
was this last year before last?
Yeah, this was last year. And now, because I am going on vacation for my birthday. My birthday's on a weekend. So I'm only missing a day of this job. So I will only miss 1 day of this job.
Y'all see how I get my notifications? Go ahead, Rebecca. It's all good. It's all good. It's your birthday.
But no, shoot, they want me to go into the office at that time, and I'm like, nah, it's my birthday. You know what I'm saying? So I won't be in the office at that time, and that's part of my mental health. Whatever. I'm turning 32. I'm gonna be on the beach, ass out, pretty, chocolate skinning, talking to some Jamaican fellas, right?
You going to Jamaica?
Oh Lord!
Yeah.
Let's go, Rebecca. Let me go with you because we already talking about we want to go back. So let me get on this plane and on this boat with you. How we get there? Just pack me in the suitcase.
We going on the boat. We getting there on the boat.
On the boat? Okay, cool. They got to pack me in no suitcase.
Bring the family. Bring the kids. Look, let's
go. Here we going back to Jamaica.
I ain't taking my 4-year-old ain't vaccinated yet. I ain't taking that boy outside the house, let alone on the plane.
Ben, he is 4 years old.
As soon as he turned, 4 years, the boy has never seen, the bulk of his life has been in the pandemic. And I was really worried about his social, cultural skills, but thank goodness he's got, big brother and sister to break him in. So, man, this pandemic, we still locked down until he could get his vaccine.
Yeah,
I'm thinking about. I don't know. Is there any doctors? Any doctors out there? Can I give it to him anyway? He's not. He's just this short of being 5, and I I need that man to get some protection out here. So
I've seen some other mothers who are doing the same thing. It's funny because your concern is not. You're not alone in that. I've been on Twitter and I've seen a lot of people who are really protective over their kids during this time because they can't get the vaccine. So they're still treating them and putting them in the pandemic bubble because at the end of the day, there's still a pandemic out there. But to keep your child safe is very, very important. I know some people might be like, "Oh, come on, it's not that time." But to each his own, and for you and your house, your child shall be covered until
because here. I mean, listen, I don't want to get into the whole. Actually, I do. The whole vaccine debate. But look, I'm just gonna protect my kids. Y'all, I don't get it, but that's a whole nother conversation. So anyway, back to Jamaica. You go have a good time on your birthday. And
thank you. I am. The way that my waist is snatched, yo, baby. The way that we out there with this snatched waist, honey. Oh,
She's been putting the work in, James. She's been putting the work in.
Okay.
I have been 1, 2,
David is so mad at us, y'all. David is so mad.
We only missing one story from the title, Viola Davis clip. Let's get to the Viola Davis clip, so you don't have to.
Okay, fine. I'm changing the title. He already changed the title, so we good. Let me stop.
He already changed it. All right, let's keep going then. We ain't gonna talk about it no more. Let's go.
Yeah. So, anyways, I'm out there in these streets. I've been really getting into my squat. I've been getting into my side. You know, I've been doing. Of course, running always is in my. That's what keeps these legs nice and toned. But honey, I was like, baby, the way I was eating the past 2 years, I finally come back to my normal body. So we all good. And the way I'm gonna be out there in these streets with these new titties God gave me, hey, it's gonna be a good, like, I didn't get a chance to be out there when I was 30, when they dropped on my body. Now I'm ready to be out there at 32, enjoying myself and feeling good. I'm excited because last year when I went to Mexico, I was good, but it was like I was still in the depressed place. Right now, I am, a lot of things going on in my life, but I have been able to balance that out.
Oh my God.
So I am going out there. I'm out there in these streets. It's gonna be
great.
Man,
Man, this pandemic has been, y'all realize like how long the pandemic has been? Like we've been
3 years.
We weren't doing the show. Then we started doing the show. Then we had all this crazy stuff happen. We all like 3 different people in the last 3 years of this pandemic. Because I can't believe it's been a year since you went to Mexico.
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah.
And Rebecca was living it up too. I'm like, damn, I wish she would have told me. I sure would have went. But you know, that was when she ain't tell nobody being. She just went.
I was a mess. No, first the 2020, I was depressed.
That was a rough year for us.
That was a rough year.
Ben would call me and be like, hey, just checking on you. Mind you, me and Ben only talked every 6 months that first year. And look, he would be like, hey, just call and check up on you. I'm like, I'm fine. I just can't even. Life is just so. He would be like, oh my God. Like, I didn't call.
Wait.
I can tell in Ben's voice. Ben would be like, I didn't call for this. Like,
actually, we do. Don't play me like that. Because remember,
at the end of it, Ben will try to like pray, he'll pray for me, and like be like, well, I asked God, I hope that God comes, because he was messed up too, but he wasn't saying nothing. And
I
then
was messed.
Look, and at the end of it, I'm like, no, Ben, I'm fine. I'm all right.
No, I'm okay.
Crazy.
I'm okay.
I was a psychopath.
I
remember 2021. And then 2021, I was just like, I'm all right. Yeah.
That was the year of our Lord, the African Angels. That was what's her name, Paula White.
African Angel situation. I was depressed and sad over a breakup that messed me up. On top of that, I was still like, what is my life going to look like? What am I doing? It was just I didn't see my parents yet. It was just a lot. Finally, I was like, I am going to go outside, but I was already so messed up. So going outside was a lot. I would try to go out to like events and be like, COVID's everywhere. COVID.
You're right.
And I'll come home and quarantine.
COVID
and like,
everywhere.
It was just a lot. Now I'm at a place where it's like, F that job. Power to the people.
Right.
What's up? You vaccinated?
We back open.
I'm still wearing my mask. Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm going on vacation, girl. I lost some inches in my waist, girl. What? Like it's all of that. It's like, what's your name? You got a girl?
New number. Man. Well, guys, this has been a wonderful. I have no idea my bearings. I don't know what day it is. What's today? It is Thursday, April 28th, and it's
Thursday. Damn.
I know, right? This is coming up to the weekend. I am excited. Yeah. If we don't talk about anything else before we get out of here, karaoke tomorrow night. Yeah. I expect to see everybody in there giving it their worst because we want to hear bad
I didn't know about karaoke. Did I know about?
I said it yesterday. Yeah, see, you need to bring your ass. You don't never come to a pager party. You want to come to this one because we want to hear you sing.
Mm-hmm. You coming? Anyway,
no. I really want to come, but I have rehearsal on my side job.
Oh no, we're gonna be doing karaoke till like 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning. So there's gonna be plenty. Okay.
So we'll be at
start at 9. So
yeah, my
just pop in there
at 8. Okay.
Okay. Cool.
9 p.m. tomorrow night.
I'll check in from the car if I can.
That's fine too. That works too. I mean, the microphone that you have right now is much better than your car microphone, but Let the people hear you sing.
Yeah.
Listen, and here's the deal. Like, if you are an excellent singer, that's fine. We only want like maybe 5 really good singers to show up tomorrow night. So let us know if you're a really good singer. Everybody else, we want the joy of you laughing at us and us laughing at you tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Karaoke brought to you by none other than DJ Exclusive and our patrons. Looking forward.
Did you already say the Patreon link?
Oh, is there a specific link? What's the link?
No, I mean, no, just patreon.com/Benjamin.
Oh, patreon.com/like it or not. Man, I'm looking at this list to see what else I missed before I have to talk to David after the show. And he's going to be like, y'all, I did all that preparation and y'all didn't go over.
Hey, David, I'm just going to apologize right now.
It's not just me anymore, so it's all good.
Can we just, I apologize now. So, some days, I told you, some days it's going to be where we go with the flow. And today was just a flow that we went.
Can we just skip the call after the text message afterwards?
I don't want nobody texting me after this. So I'm putting an apology out there right now. I don't want no meeting. I don't want nothing. I am sorry for what I did. I love you so much, and I mean that. So, you know what I'm saying? It's Thursday. I hope everybody. Are we doing an after party? Because if you wanted to,
this is a good place to hold it. We've had a really thorough show. What do you? It's 3 people on the screen. It
was.
No, that's
it was a good damn show.
I'm going today. It's 10 o'clock. That gives me approximately 45 minutes. I can actually do a workout, and then I can start work. So
I tell you what, we'll do this.
I think to break everything down. So that works for me, because then I got to break all this shit down and then jump on the phone call. So that works.
Well, there you go. Let's get out of here. And to everyone who is waiting for the after party, Dwayne said he's in the background somewhere. Dwayne, yeah.
Yes, I did, and you were too quiet, and it got weird because I'm like, "Where is he? Why is he not talking?"
It got awkward.
See what happens? It got awkward. I didn't like that.
No satisfaction with that one.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no winning. There's no winning.
Satisfying that, brother.
Look, why did you shut up when I told you to shut up? I didn't like that.
David, I learned a long time ago, growing up with a house full of women, that you sometimes you just gotta. You know what I mean? Ain't no winning. You just gonna have to take that L sometime and keep.
You just gotta take it.
Right. Let me tell you something. I'm going to sign off on this. That's going to be the closest thing you're going to get me to getting canceled, but I will concur. There's going to be some occasions where you just got to dial it back and say, you know what, sisters? Every single one of y'all win, and I lost.
Yep. Me and my brother used to hate it. My daddy was cool, but it was like, okay, yeah, all right. Y'all got it.
Y'all win. Y'all win. All men are horrible.
Pop saying Friday, he said sometimes you're going to lose, but you live. You live like another day.
You live.
You put his fist up.
Love you guys. Mean it. See you tomorrow.
Right, man.
See y'all tomorrow.
All right, man. Awesome show today. Thank you for all our guests that came on. Senator Nina Turner, Professor Harvey Kaye. Shout out Georgia Fort, Rebecca Azor for being in the building. And, of course, Benjamin P. Hartnell, Percival Dixon. And shout out David and Dwayne as well, too, working in the bike ground. The Florida just came out. God damn, that's never happened before. And the bike ground. And shout out Tucker as well, too, and everybody else that helps us do what we do, man. We appreciate y'all. We love y'all. Need it. Don't forget Patreon party tomorrow. Patreon.com/the BPD show or Patreon.com/like it. Or what is it? Like it or not? I can't remember. One of those. But have your ass there. You don't want to miss a karaoke party going down. Your affirmation for today. I choose to make the best out of every situation. I choose to make the best out of every situation. Y'all gonna be great, man. Love y'all. Mean it. We will see y'all tomorrow. Happy Friday Eve. Deuces.
Feel my beating heart all up in my zone. Well, let this go. Touch your ones that go numb. Heart beats like a drum. Feel the fantasy.